The Emo Social Club has reviewed records that have been around for 20 so years that have changed our lives, have changed the lives of many people. And rather than just stop reviewing them because When We Were Young 2025 has not been announced yet, we've decided to keep going and give some more reviews of some classic records, some nostalgic record. So our first record we're going to review post When We Were Young 2024 is Fall Out Boys from Under the Cork Tree. And before we get into our thoughts and our opinions on this record, Lizzie, go ahead and tell us a little bit more about Fall Out Boy, as though there's anything you could tell us that people don't know.
I know.
From Under the Cork Tree.
This is their second album, but I will say Evening Out With Your Girlfriend, their very first release was a mini LP, so there's all that, all right? This was released,
the most actually intro of all time.
So From Under the Cork Tree was released on May 3rd, 2005 via Island Records, and this was produced by Neil Averon, who also recently produced their newest album, So Much for Stardust. They then went on the Black Clouds and Underdogs tour, and they re-released this album with a bunch of remixes and added singles. The lead single was shocking, Sugar We're Going Down. The album debuted at number 9 on the Billboard 200 charts. It stayed there for 2 weeks and got them their longest and best charting album. This was also number 2 on the Billboard Rock Albums charts. The album and singles went double platinum. And the singles that we also have on here are Dance Dance, Sugar We're Going Down, and A Little Less 16 Candles, A Little More Touch Me, with Dance Dance and Sugar peaking at number 8 and 9 on the Billboard Hot 100. And 16 Candles on number 68 on the Hot 100s and charted for 13 weeks. Mr. Peter Wentz wrote all the lyrics, and Patrick Stump wrote the music, as we all know. During this process, though, they threw out 10 songs and then rewrote 8 of them, and one of those songs was Sugar We're Going Down. After From Under the Cork Tree and Infinity on High came out, the vocalist of American Nightmare actually said, hey, you used some of my poetry and didn't credit me, dog.
Wow.
So they had to settle out of court. So if you look in the credits, he is listed as a inspirador or something like that, and about just inspiring and having that added into certain songs. I tried to find what songs specifically. I'm sure we could probably maybe assume which ones.
Hey, Peter, you can't do that, Peter.
And last but not least, in 2016, Rolling Stone listed this as number 26 out of 40 of the greatest emo albums ever.
Well, before we get into our thoughts and our opinions on this record, make sure you are subscribed. We are going through every record that's ever been made. And if you don't subscribe for the next 100 years of this YouTube channel, you will miss out on our thoughts and opinions on records that you have listened to for the last 20 years. So, you know, you want to make sure you're listening to these guys' thoughts on this. We have some other content coming to the channel too now that When We Were Young is done. So follow, subscribe, check us out everywhere, all the platforms. Hopefully you like our thoughts on other records you like or don't like too.
I love Fall Out Boy so much. I first found out about them when I was really little. My dad gave me a ripped copy of Chicago So 2 years ago and put it on my iPod Classic and said, I think you would like this. And also right afterwards was loaded up Aqua's Barbie Girl because I was 8 years old. From there, I just kind of started listening to them a lot more and not really getting into really even like fully ado until much later in life, even just because I was really stuck and have always hung on to Take This to Your Grave. With the resurgence that came when they came back in 2013, that's when it really hit me that I could finally see this band again that I wasn't able to see when they were first around, and how much these songs really mean to me and impact me. And with From Under the Cork Tree specifically, I honestly had all of the remixes downloaded first before majority. Because I love the Lindenberg Dance Dance remix with all my heart and soul. Yeah. They're so pinnacle and iconic and something that I always frequently go back to and listen to. And I just think that this is a very solid record for Fall Out Boy and establishing what their sound was during this time, especially this being more of their mainstream breakout, that they were able to say, hey, we're these emo pop punk kids and you're going to like this sound. I think From Under the Cork Tree is such a pinnacle album overall.
I've spoken a lot on this podcast about how Fall Out Boy was one of the bands that, you know, I was around in high school when friends of mine were getting signed to Fueled by Ramen, to Cadence. People that I knew like all the bands in the suburbs. So it's like, here's all these kids getting signed to this band, Fall Out Boy's label. And I was like, man, fuck Fall Out Boy. That was my initial feeling towards this band altogether, was just high school envy and jealousy. Later in life, you know, it's like, okay, it's finally time to like go back and revisit. I mean, you're absolutely correct. This record is a classic. This record is iconic. This record is amazing. This record has so many good songs on it. I've always felt bad for my high school self that I, you know, gave up on this so early and never tried it, you know, when I was in high school. So I probably would have had a better experience working with those friends of mine. It's a Chicago band. It's a Chicago suburbs band. Like, this is exactly from where I was growing up. And now I'm like, yeah, I hate that I never got into this. I have, you know, my thoughts on Fall Out Boy post this, and I have my thoughts on Fall Out Boy pre this. My main takeaway is that Fully Ado is Fall Out Boy's best record. Infinity on High is my favorite record. From Under the Cork Tree is their breakout record, the one that everybody knows, and the reason that they are able to make the other two records. And Take This to Your Grave is actually their best record. And those are the 4 Fall Out Boy records. So
there's more Fall Out Boy records.
That's the 4 Fall Out Boy records.
There's a lot more, actually.
Lizzie, as a gigantic fan of Fall Out Boy, can you pick your top tracks from Under the Cork Tree?
This was really hard.
Yeah,
I was also trying not to go for the singles for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Gin Joints, of all the Gin Joints in the world.
That's correct.
Hello, you look so good in blue.
Oh no, the whole song is amazing.
That whole song, Bangertown, USA.
I love fast tempo pop songs from this era. Any song like that where it has these really catchy vocals from the verse to the chorus to the bridge to every part of the song, super fast tempo, super energetic, and the lyrics are really good on this one. I will maybe not say that about all of them, but the lyrics are super good on this one. It's a very fun song.
You don't like Pete Wentz, the
That's
lyricist?
Correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
I slept with someone from Fall Out Boy, and all I got was a stupid song written about me. I found the cure to growing older. Ah! The breakdown is like, and I am sorry, my conscience called in sick again. Oh my God. Just the rise and fall of Patrick Stum's voice during that one section in particular, and throughout the rest of the song, as it goes into the primary chorus, just so flawless.
I personally think that Nobody Puts Baby in the Corner is the best song on this record.
That was one I was like going back and forth with too.
And I know it's like an older track, like they brought it forward onto this, like it was like released on a demo or something. I don't know. Fall Out Boy historians will let me know in the comments, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
On the first listen I did of this album, you know, when I was like, finally I'm going to stop being a hater, how I learned to stop hating Fall Out Boy and come to love them. Nobody Puts Baby in a Corner was like the standout track to me. It had everything that I thought that I wanted from, you know, I guess because I'm a huge Panic at the Disco fan,
Yeah.
like to me, this one was the biggest connecting tissue between what I love about Panic at the Disco and what I could love about Fall Out Boy. So I remember like putting that song on like a bunch of times in a row. Just like, I need to hear that one again. I love that like opening like drum fill.
Yeah.
Just brings you right in. Again, fast tempo pop song, like just carries you along with it. It's like, let me take you on this journey. And
This
you're like,
journey.
oh yes.
And then
Whisk
you
me
hear, I'll
away.
be your best kept secret and your biggest mistake. And you're like, damn, I kind of want that tattoo.
Every fucking dork in high school was like, my aim away message, this will explain what I feel. It's like,
Oh my
what does
God,
it mean,
yeah.
man? What does it mean? What do you mean?
I mean,
What do you mean?
well into my early 20s, I would post that on Tumblr.
You're like writing that on your aim away message because your mom told you have to get off the computer and go finish your homework. like, what do you mean?
No,
Damn,
that-
go study for the test.
This is
Shut
such
up.
a specific era of like when you are in high school and you have your aim away message with that, though, is that when your boyfriend has broken up with you for the umpteenth time, you're like, no, don't worry. We're just on a break. It's going to work out.
God.
This is not as hyper specific as you think it is.
It's not.
Also, I went back and forth between this and Nobody Puts Baby in a Corner, EXO.
I remember a friend of mine, and this is one of the reasons why I went back to listen to it, because we were doing like a proto emo night like way back in the day, and one of the songs he would put on every set list was EXO, and he's like, this is the best Fall Out Boy song. And I remember being like, I don't like Fall Out Boy, and then hearing it a few times and going, I gotta check out Fall Out Boy again. I gotta go back to this record now.
This one is very Take This to Your Grave encoded.
Yes,
With
yes.
a lot of the elements of here, especially
Yes.
with like the gang vocals.
Yes.
So I think that that's why it stands out still too.
I love like the big like chorus and then like how it like kind of pulls it back and Patrick just gets to sing with it. I love that. It's a great song.
It's fantastic.
It's a very good song if someone's heard the singles only to be like, hey, check this song out. See how you feel about like other types of Fall Out Boy songs. I mean, there's not a soul that's watching this that's like, oh, let me check out what they think about this band I've never really heard of. Fall Out Boy?
I mean, you would be shocked. There's some people that you'll say, oh, this band Fall Out Boy, and they say who? And you're like, what are you saying to me?
It has to exist, but I'm also like, how does it exist when Sugar We're Going Down is on the radio all the time? The only other one I'll say is A Little Less 16 Candles is a song that has really grown on me. I think especially because like we would play it all the time during the pandemic when we were streaming.
Yeah.
I think that song has just legitimately become like a song that I really love.
I mean, how could you forget? You calling yourselves hunters?
That's some you be the beat.
When they actually played, every time they played it recently, I yell it out like that.
Come on, man. I need Pete to say that before they play the song from now on.
You call yourselves hunters.
God, stop letting Pete Wentz act.
Listen, he created the Cadence cinematic universe.
Yeah, and he was the worst actor of them all.
You know what? Me and Pete Wentz are alike in that way, and that's okay. We're bad actors.
Stop doing it. We're bad actors.
I never
We're bad
act.
actors, folks. But the song itself is excellent. I think the song is super catchy. I think it's got a lot of very good parts to it. The thing I like about Fall Out Boy is that the verses are catchy. A lot of people make music where the verses are not like they're just there. They're just supposed to be there to get you to the chorus again. And they kind of lose me in the verses. They like they clearly are like second, third priority. And Fall Out Boy is like, no, I wrote a very catchy verse as though it were a chorus.
Yeah.
And so singing along with Fall Out Boy always feels really good. Obviously, like Patrick Stump's vocals are incredible. So like he writes really good vocal lines and vocal melodies, and he makes the verses just as catchy as the choruses. And that's very hard to do. And Patrick Stump just might be a musical genius.
I mean, he is.
I mean, yes,
Not
he
might
is.
be. He is.
I'm saying might be because how do you prove it? But also, like, you know,
I mean, you can just look at it and say, yeah.
you can just listen to it. Look at the song.
Yeah, if you can read it.
Fix me, Pabst.
So, Brian, what are your spicy and bad takes about this?
Really, like, the only thing that has bothered me forever about Fall Out Boy in general is a lot of the lyrics that Pete Wentz writes. I have always found it very interesting that Pete Wentz is like a poet, a lyricist, and not the singer. Patrick taking those words and then creating melody and creating like cadence out of the words in order to create the song out of it. I've not always thought that Pete Wentz is like a great writer. I think that he is a lot in his own head and a lot in his own, like, I'm really good at this. And that kind of comes out in it. There's a lot of like very fourth wall breaking stuff. And it always has felt weird when Patrick is singing something like writing lyrics about somebody. Like, I slept with somebody in Fall Out Boy and all I got was this. It's like, did Patrick write that? Because Patrick probably didn't feel that. And it was just like, whatever, I'll just sing whatever Pete wrote down. That's always how I felt about Fall Out Boy. Like, Pete needs to come up with a few less words and a little bit more like identifiable concepts in his lyrics that anybody can identify with. Like, I do think that that's one of the reasons why Fall Out Boy is a band that some people might be like, who or what? Because Sugar We're Going Down is not like a traditional pop song in that sense. It's massive because it's a rock song. It's massive because it is a big song that people can continue to listen to. But it's not like the lyrics and the way that the song is structured and the way all this stuff goes together really fits into the music we listen to now. Pete kind of just did whatever Pete wanted to do. Do your best with it. Hopefully you like it. But no one on the internet is going to tell me that Pete Wentz is like a great lyricist. I'm not going to be convinced. Do you have anything negative to say about this record at all?
No. I don't have any spicy takes about Fall Out Boy. I think that this is a great album. If anything, I would just say it's probably not my favorite Fall Out Boy album, but that's kind of small potatoes here in the long term.
What is your favorite Fall Out Boy album?
Take This to Your Grave.
I'm saying it's probably their best.
It's the first one I really ever listened to death.
Well, those are our thoughts and our opinions on Fall Out Boys from Under the Cork Tree. Before we end the episode, though, we should talk a little bit about the legacy of Fall Out Boy, this record, how we feel about it almost 20 years later. What is how has this record changed the world?
There's a lot of things that Fall Out Boy has contributed sonically, I feel, and just through the way of art with a lot of other media convergence that's happened too throughout the years. Fall Out Boy has been really this band that has been for the fans, despite even how large and quote unquote unattainable they are. I mean, when they were playing here in Chicago, Pete Wentz had a random tennis pop up. Fall Out Boy has still been such a long-standing name, especially with their last album, So Much for Stardust. Again, they've made it relevant in pop culture with emo Jimmy Butler. Never forget. As much as you don't really like Pete Wentz's like lyricism and the way that he kind of looks at things, he is this weirdly artistic marketing maven.
He's a genius at marketing. Never going to take that away from him. He made this band happen. Never going to take that away from him. He's done it for the entire time the band has existed too. So yes, this is the record that most people revisit. It's sold less than Infinity on High. Mm-hmm. Infinity on High is their best selling record, but this is certainly the record that everybody knows. It's the record with the most songs on the radio. It's the record that everybody looks forward to them playing. We know that they are not a nostalgia band, so they did not play an album at When We Were Young. They played, assuming, because this is pre When We Were Young, we're recording this. But at Riot Fest, they played like kind of an Eras tour. They're doing a Fall Out Boy Eras, an FOBERA tour. I think that is one of the better ways that Fall Out Boy can do what is a nostalgia type thing. Mm-hmm. It's clear they understood that there is a nostalgia thing for old Fall Out Boy because they went back to Fueled by Ramen and they went back to Neil Avron for So Much for Stardust. So they knew that like we need to go and get on that thing that made us hot back in the day that the kids are looking for while doing something new, creating something that is more current Fall Out Boy versus past Fall Out Boy. They understand that this record meant a lot to a lot of kids from 20 years ago and are trying to do things, I assume, for kids now. They're trying to make it like we are not a band that is just going to play to the same audience of 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds that we played to before. We want new fans. We want to bring new people in. I certainly think that Fall Out Boy has done that in now that they're understanding like how the scene sees them and how their records have impacted a lot of people that still are buying the tickets, still are buying their kids' tickets to go and going with their kids. This band is one of the biggest in the rock scene, in the alternative scene. A band that can sell out, tours, a band that can sell out stadiums, a band that can, headline festivals. Everybody knows their songs. Everybody likes Fall Out Boy. Like it's just kind of par for the course now. So Fall Out Boy is going to be a name that we have forever.
They are the household name, I feel, for our generation.
Blink, Fall Out Boy, Green Day, a lot of those bands from that like pop punk emo era. Yeah. So those were our thoughts. That's the lasting legacy of Fall Out Boys from Under the Cork Tree. What do you think? How do you feel about our takes on this? How do you feel about our review? How do you feel about Fall Out Boy today? How do you feel about the 4 records that matter?
No, there's more records that do matter.
Leave a comment down below. Leave a like. Subscribe if you want more of these reviews. We have more coming. We've recorded a bunch. And When We Were Young content's coming too. So, stick around.
We have so much for everybody.
But until Fall Out Boy, until From Under the Cork Tree, we'll see you there.